to ensure that what is waiting for us on the other side happens. Because it won't happen if we just sit idly by and hope, oh, I hope this really happens. No, we have to push it. We have to make it happen. Otherwise, it won't. ETs can only go so far. But the thing is, we have our little role to play as well, and yeah, that's basically it. I will leave it open for questions if anybody wants, and that's my talk for today. I hope you enjoyed it.
Lea, can I ask a question?
Yes.
Because I think I know what you're going to say.
Okay.
And I think it might be nice for the audience to hear it. What was the difficulty that you had in getting adults to take you seriously? Because I know Mum, being a very clever lady, believed you absolutely, but really struggled. When do you think the time came where Mum could actually take this on board?
When
do you feel that she was able? That was how I got to know you.
Yeah.
Wasn't it? Was because through Mum being, kind enough to contact me and say, I've got this wonderful daughter, but I'm a scientist, and I'm really struggling with what, because it's obviously challenging all the belief systems and whatever. When did Mum did believe you, but she really struggled? Where do you feel that she moved from just wanting to believe you to actually moving to the point where
this is happening?
This is happening.
Yeah.
Did you get a sense of when that was?
Well, the thing is, I've been talking about my experiences with these beings since a very, very young age, and I've been repeating the same stuff over and over to her all the time. And it got to a point when I was in my pubescent years when she was just like, oh my God, she's still talking about it. And, so she started doing the research behind it. She actually stopped, and she did the most amazing thing anyone's ever done for me. She actually listened to what I had to say, and she went out and looked it up online, read books, and read up on if other people had been going through the same thing. And she was coming back with information. Oh my God, these people, they're talking about the exact same stuff as she's talking about. And I'm like this young teenager who's not going on the internet looking up researching ET stuff. No, I'm playing World of Warcraft. That's all I'm doing. I'm not actually doing any of this research. I'm not taking this information. I'm like, oh yeah, that sounds really good. I'm gonna be starseeds. Yeah, that sounds really good. No. It was she actually sat down and listened to what I had to say, and it was, I believe, after about a decade of me repeating the same stuff over and over again, was when she actually went out of her way and made contact with Mary Rodwell to say, I think my daughter is one of these people that you're talking about, so can you help me out? And it wasn't easy for Mum at the beginning because she's a scientist. She has a very strong scientific background, and when me coming out with all this information, she just had like, I don't know what to do with this. But because but being a good and trusting parent, because she knew I wasn't a liar, she had enough trust in me to she wouldn't be making this stuff up. Like, what's the point? Because if it was for attention, I mean, come on, it's like the worst things you can get for attention from. You get picked on at school all the time. I'm not interested in that. So yeah, it was that what really helped me, and put me out of my shell and got me to talk to all of you today. Because without that, none of this would have happened. So yeah, that was me.
Does Mum want to say anything?
Oh my God. Yeah, it's, gosh, Mom, can't bring you anywhere. I do not. No, I don't have any biological siblings. I just have the odd step sibling here and there, but that's about it.
Lea, can I ask you a question? I understand why most of humanity comes without conscious recall, but why do the starseeds not come with conscious recall and know who they are right from the beginning? Why is that eliminated from you?
Well, I can't speak for every other starseed. I can only speak for my own. Because the thing is, because I was born in a body with limitations, and I do have my own limitations. My contacts actually had to teach me how to remember my past lives, so really open up that kind of channel for me to actually recall the meeting I had with Mesrith before I was born. So it's like, this is not just your single life. They really put in the time and effort to tell me, to teach me, like, hey man, you chose this life. Remember, you said it was okay. You said this is what you wanted, and they put in that extra effort to make sure I remember, so then I can actually be some sort of use for them. That's the way I look at it. But as I said, I can't speak for everyone. This is all purely from my own experiences. Like I understand many people who are starseeds. They're like, I don't remember any of this. I don't know why this is happening. I can't tell you why. I'm sorry. I just don't have that kind of knowledge. If I did, then I'll let you know. But I'm sorry. That's it. Any more questions?
Yeah. I've done a lot of research. Everything seems to point to Anunnaki for me.
Mm-hmm.
Have you heard anything from your guides?
My side?
About the Anunnaki?
I don't actually know that. Like, they don't really talk about them that much. I heard it a couple of times, but they haven't divulged that much information about that on that front. Well, I'll admit I haven't actually inquired about it, so that's probably my point. Like, because the thing is, there's a lot of information out there. Sometimes I just don't have the questions sometimes at the time to be like, hey, what's this, because I'm all around the joint. I'm asking of all these billion different questions, and they're giving me all these billion different answers. But yeah, for what you're asking, I didn't come around to it yet. Not yet. Yes.
With what you've sort of learned through these aliens, right, do you find that it's not important what people think? Like what you learn here is all rubbish, and universal stuff is more simple and not technical, and it's not as hard as some people make it up. Because the other information that Mary gave was it's all very technical, and it's like they're super geniuses. You don't have to be a super genius.
No, you don't. I mean, and the thing is, like, what makes someone intelligent? I mean, there's different variations of intelligent. I mean, some people are, really like genius with numbers. Some people are genius with art. It takes all sorts. I mean, who's to say someone's in a genius or not? But sorry, you're asking about how I.
No.
Sorry.
Why is it? What's the message they're trying to give you by the contacts? They're just like us. That's basically the main message I'm getting on a regular, that they're showing me that they are flawed creatures as well, that they love, they've lost, they've had fights with their families, with their friends, they've been in battles themselves, they've had their own problems with discrimination as well, and it's all of it. They're not perfect, and that's probably one of the most important messages I've got from them so far. So yes. Thank you.
Lea, maybe I can help here. Is after the age of 50 years of age, I was fast asleep. But all my life, I've been very intuitive, very empathic, and had many unusual experiences. I've never had any conscious recall until the last 8 years. And to answer your question, I think as individuals we all get guided to do our certain missions. And when you mentioned about the 26, it was so quick I missed it. But I've actually been told by 3 psychics in 3 different countries that I've actually had 26 different incarnations in different star systems. And part of that is to help, like yourself. I'm obviously one of the first wavers, and I've had to go through a lot of stuff. And I guess what I'm trying to say here is that we're all trying to connect with something that resonates with us as individuals. And like you say, there's so much life out there, there's so much diversity, that not everyone's going to resonate with any particular. We resonate with everything, but there's a part of us that connects at some point.
Absolutely agree with that. Like, even though I feel connected with a lot of these different beings that I've encountered, I do have my favorites, if you will. So like, there's some beings I am very, very close to, like particularly on Tajik-san, my caseworker. She is a Zoni, and I've always had an affinity with a Zoni, and it took me some time to actually realize, oh my gosh, I was an Azoni in a past life. And you know, it made sense. It made absolute sense, and I yearn for that world. I yearn for that life, and I miss it. I really do. Even though, like, the soul, it's agenderless. It doesn't have a species. It doesn't have any particular sexuality. Nothing. It's just a blob of energy, really. But the thing is, for me, I did pick out my favorites through my different incarnations. So yeah, that's for me, and so I guess.
I have two questions. First one's really short. I've seen your artwork. Bring any of it with you?
Yes.
Okay. Second question. When you go out these days, do you go out by feeling cool, or do you just automatically just go and lie down and sit there, however you do it, or do you just go, okay, I think I would like to try and go out now? Or do both experiences seem to happen?
Both. Most of the time, I actually get out of my body myself, but sometimes I do get pulled out, depending on the type of situation that's happening. If, like, for example, Antaji-san wants to see me, she's like, come here, or whoever wants to interact with me. But most of the time, I have to get out of my body. So.
Okay. And will be just another part to that question.
Sure.
Which process, if it's okay to ask this question, which process do you use for going out now?
Okay, that's a good question. And this works for me. It might not work for a lot of other people, but what I do, I try and. Okay, so my technique is I lie down and I make sure there's no distractions around me, no light, no sound, no nothing. I make sure that I don't have any pressure anywhere on my body, so I don't actually, because my mind is always buzzing, my mind's always going. So in order for me to really properly leave, I have to ensure that I have no tactile disturbances of any kind or anything like that. So when I try and imagine myself, my consciousness falling away from my eyes. That's the best way I can describe it, like falling away from my face in the center of my brain. And then what happens is that once I feel like I'm floating back, I'm sort of flying backwards, that's when my body starts vibrating. And it comes in pulses, so it's like I can slightly feel it, and I can feel like I'm getting more and more intense every couple of seconds. So then I really focus on the vibrating parts, and that's when I can feel my astral eyes, if you will, kind of opening up and trying to get out. That's when I feel. But sometimes what happens is I focus too much on it, and what happens if I focus too much on it, I come back in my body again. I'm like, but it just takes that constant ensure, like, yep, just keep going. But it's still 100%, but I'll get there one day.
Thank you.
You're welcome. So, any more questions?
You talk more about the council and your interactions with them and what their role is in the transition that we're going through.
So you want me to elaborate a bit more about that? Okay, so I am not in full contact with the custodians because they're well above my ability to really receive what they have to say, because they're all energy beings and they're super old and super powerful, and I'm like, oh, okay, I can't handle it. I can probably contact like Meswith, who was part of that council as well, so he's the only one I can really link up with. But with the Ashtar, I'm in contact with, like, on a regular, telepathic in nature, and I can hear what they're speaking about. I can sort of I can also see in my mind's eye what they're doing as well. But this particular council's focus is to contact humanity on a social front, and sometimes they even do when you're out there and you're meditating and you want to come into contact them. They're the ones that sometimes actually contact those groups as well. So they actually go out there, any form of social contact. That's their main kind of goal. So yeah, that's their role. Yeah. Any more questions? Yes.
Have they given you any information about your genetic links or your family links? Can you expand on that?
Yeah. So my caseworker, she is technically my biological non-birth mother, technically speaking, because I do have a little bit of her in my chain. Now, a lot of star seeds, I would say actually nearly all star seeds are partly technically the hybrid in nature. The percentages can vary, but for me, I have very, very small amount of zoning in me, and the reason that it was done that way so that I can actually be more sensitive to their presence and their forms of communication. So it kind of opens up that link with them a little bit easier. So they don't actually always have to physically manifest in front of me to actually talk with me. I already have that sort of natural sense for them, so then they don't actually have to put themselves in kind of any physical danger when they come to me. So they're like, oh yeah, here, how's it going, kind of thing. So if that makes any kind of sense. But yes.
In terms of your physical body and the
physical body, yeah,
blood link on the physical body.
Yes, physically, my DNA, a little bit of me is only like a very, very small amount. So, any more questions? Yes.
Do council think that we will have first contact within our lifetimes? Is it very soon?
I can't give you an exact number. Like I used to be pretty confident when it comes to the dates, but because things are changing all the time, the date changes with it. So I try not to tell people, oh yeah, this is when the date's going to happen, because I don't know for certain. And considering that so many things are happening in such a small spans of time, it's very, very hard to say when that's going to happen. And so I get now this is just going by my own feelings. This is not coming from anywhere. This is just coming directly from me. But I do feel like it is going to happen within our lifetime. But that's the feeling I get. That take it as you will. Yeah, thank you for your question.
No more questions?
Oh, I was scared of that.
That's all right, that's good. Next up is Michelle. Michelle Dunn is my partner. Love her very much. What we'll do, we're a bit ahead of schedule, so we'll take 5 minutes. So if you want a toilet break or a smoko break, 5 minutes and we're back here. Thank you.
We haven't put the air conditioning on 4 times, but I keep checking and it's off. But it's now on, so hopefully it works.
So anyone who shouts, that's why I was shouting.